Every organization, every leader, every dreamer faces the same challenge. How do you turn an idea into a reality that changes something in the world? We live in an age overflowing with information, tools, and opportunities, yet still, most strategies never see the light of day. Not because the ideas were bad, but because the path from vision to execution was never truly mastered. Strategic planning and management isn't just a business exercise. It's not a dry, mechanical process reserved for boardrooms and charts. It's the art and science of building the bridge between where you are and where you know you could be. It's the discipline of dreaming big while moving with precision. It's the courage to chart a course into the unknown while keeping your purpose as the North Star. I've seen teams with brilliant ideas fail because they had no plan. I've seen teams with perfect plans fail because they had no discipline. And I've seen teams succeed not because they had every answer, but because they knew how to think, adapt, and lead with clarity. The truth is, success isn't an accident. It's built step by step through a process that combines vision, awareness, focus, action, and resilience. The 6 steps I'm about to share are not just steps on a checklist. They're a mindset, a way of leading, a way of thinking about the future. They apply to companies, teams, and even personal goals. They're the steps that take strategy out of the clouds and plant it firmly on the ground, ready to be walked one deliberate step at a time. And if you follow them with commitment and conviction, they won't just help you achieve your goals. They'll transform the way you approach every challenge in your life. Every great achievement in history started with more than just a plan. It started with a purpose. Purpose is not a mission statement written on a wall. It's not a catchy phrase crafted by a marketing team. Purpose is the reason something exists. It's the emotional driver that makes people get out of bed in the morning and work long after the world has gone to sleep. In strategic planning and management, purpose acts like a compass. Without it, you can be busy every single day, but still find yourself going in circles. When you begin with purpose, you're not just asking, what do we want to do? You're asking, why does this matter? And that why will be the anchor in moments of uncertainty. Plans will change. Markets will shift. Challenges will arise that you never saw coming. But a strong purpose is unshackable. It gives your team the courage to keep moving when logic says it's time to stop. A clear purpose also aligns people. You can have the most skilled team in the world, but if they're moving in different directions, you're not going to win. Purpose gives them a shared destination. It ensures that even if they work in different departments, on different projects, or with different skill sets, their actions are connected to the same larger goal. Think about the organizations that inspire the world. They didn't start with a spreadsheet. They started with a cause, a belief, a deep conviction that they were here to make something better. That belief became the foundation for every decision they made. It guided their priorities. It shaped their culture. It became the invisible hand behind every success. When you're defining your purpose, you have to dig deep. Generic statements like, we want to be the best, don't inspire action because they don't explain why. Why do you want to be the best? What will being the best allow you to do for the people you serve? The more specific and heartfelt your answer, the more powerful your purpose becomes. In strategic planning, the danger is that we get too caught up in the mechanics, budgets, deadlines, metrics, before defining the soul of what we're trying to achieve. But if the mechanics are the body, purpose is the heart. And without a heart, the body can't survive. You have to ask yourself and your team tough questions. What do we stand for? What problem are we trying to solve that truly matters? If we disappeared tomorrow, what gap would we leave in the world? The answers to these questions will do more for your strategy than any tool, software, or consultant ever could. Purpose is also the source of resilience. Strategies often fail, not because they were bad ideas, but because the people behind them gave up when things got hard. A strong purpose makes quitting feel impossible. It keeps you going when progress is slow, when critics are loud, and when doubt creeps in. Once you have a clear purpose, it's not enough to simply know it. You have to communicate it. Every member of your team should be able to articulate it in their own words. It should be present in every meeting, every presentation, every hiring decision, and every product you launch. Purpose should not live in a single document that collects dust in a filing cabinet. It should live in your daily actions. A clear purpose transforms planning from a dry, Procedural exercise into a mission worth fighting for. When you have that, the rest of the steps in strategic planning become infinitely more powerful, because now you're not just executing a plan, you're pursuing something worth giving your life's best work to. Before you decide where you want to go, you have to know exactly where you stand. This is the step that most people either rush through or skip entirely, and it's why so many strategies fail before they even begin. It's tempting to jump straight into the exciting part, the vision, the goals, the big moves. But if you don't take the time to understand your current reality in detail, you're essentially drawing a map without marking where "you are here" is. And without that, no matter how detailed the route, you'll never arrive where you want to go. Analyzing reality means stripping away assumptions, wishful thinking, and ego. It means asking uncomfortable questions and being brutally honest with the answers. Where are we really succeeding right now and why? Where are we falling short and why? It's about taking an unfiltered look at your resources, capabilities, market position, and internal culture. You can't build a skyscraper on a cracked foundation, and you can't build a winning strategy on a distorted perception of reality. This step is about gathering facts, not just opinions. It's not enough for leadership to sit in a room and make declarations about what's going well or what needs fixing. You have to go into the field, talk to your employees, talk to your customers, study your competitors, look at the data. If something isn't working, don't sugarcoat it. If something is working, understand exactly what's making it work so you can protect and scale it. One of the most valuable tools for this is the classic SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But too often, organizations treat this as a checkbox exercise rather than a deep exploration. They'll write a few bullet points, nod in agreement, and move on. That's not real analysis. Real analysis digs into the why behind each point. Why is this a strength? Is it because of a unique skill set, a strong relationship, or a technological advantage? Why is this a weakness? Is it because of outdated systems, unclear processes, or a lack of leadership focus? Opportunities and threats require even more rigor. An opportunity isn't just something you like the sound of. It's a real, measurable opening in the market that aligns with your purpose and capabilities. A threat isn't just a competitor who looks intimidating. It's any external factor that could disrupt your ability to achieve your goals. Economic changes, technological shifts, new regulations, or even cultural trends can all be threats if you're not prepared. The most dangerous thing in this step is overconfidence. Overconfidence convinces you that you already know everything you need to know. It blinds you to warning signs. It tells you that the market will adapt to you rather than the other way around. History is full of once great organizations that collapsed because they assumed their past success guaranteed future survival. They didn't see reality clearly until it was too late. Another danger is wishful thinking, the belief that something will work just because you want it to. Strategic planning is not the place for blind optimism. Optimism is necessary for execution, but in the analysis phase, you need objectivity. You need to strip the emotion out of your evaluation so that you're dealing with truth, not fantasy. Analyzing reality also means looking internally at your culture and people. Many plans fail not because they were strategically flawed, but because the culture wasn't ready to execute them. If your team lacks trust, communication, or clarity, no amount of clever planning will save you. A plan is only as strong as the people carrying it out. This step takes courage because the truth is rarely flattering. You may discover that your brand isn't as well known as you thought. You may realize that your processes are outdated. You may see that competitors are moving faster, adapting quicker, and offering more value. But facing those truths early is infinitely better than being blindsided by them later. The organizations that excel in this step are the ones that make reality analysis a habit, not a one-time event. They don't just analyze before a big strategic shift. They analyze continuously. They're always scanning the horizon for new opportunities and threats. They're always checking the health of their internal operations. They're always updating their understanding of where they truly stand. When you know your current reality with clarity and precision, every decision becomes more powerful. You know where to allocate resources. You know which battles are worth fighting and which ones will drain you. You know when to push forward aggressively and when to pause and regroup. You know how to set goals that are ambitious yet achievable because they're grounded in truth. This step is where discipline meets humility. Discipline to gather the facts. Humility to accept them, even when they're not what you hope to see. Together, they give you the foundation to build a strategy that isn't just inspiring, it's executable. Because once you truly understand where you are, you can chart the smartest, most realistic, and most direct path to where you want to be. Dreams are powerful. They are the spark that ignites action, the vision that gives us hope, the image of a better future that keeps us moving forward. But dreams alone are not enough. Without structure, without clarity, without a way to measure progress, dreams remain what they are, ideas in the clouds. Strategic planning is the bridge between dreaming and doing, and that bridge is built on measurable and achievable goals. A goal is more than a vague intention. Saying, "We want to grow," is not a goal, it's a wish. A goal has definition. It has a timeline. It has metrics that allow you to know whether you're winning or falling behind. Measurable goals turn strategy into something tangible. They transform broad ambitions into specific targets that you can track, evaluate, and adjust along the way. The reason measurable goals are so important is simple. You can't improve what you can't measure. If you have no way of knowing whether you're moving forward, then you're leading by feeling instead of fact. And feelings can be deceiving. You might feel like you're making progress because you're busy, but activity is not the same as achievement. Measurable goals keep you honest. They don't care how hard you worked or how many hours you put in. They care about results. But goals also need to be achievable. Ambition is essential, but unrealistic targets can do more harm than good if a goal is so far out of reach that your team secretly believes it's impossible. Motivation will collapse before you even start. People need to believe that success is possible. That doesn't mean the goal should be easy. Stretching beyond your comfort zone is where growth happens, but it should still be grounded in reality. The sweet spot is a goal that pushes you just far enough that achieving it requires focus, discipline, and creativity, but not so far that it feels hopeless. A useful framework for creating these kinds of goals is the SMART method: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, instead of saying, "We want to increase sales," you might say, "We want to increase sales by 20% in the next 12 months by expanding into 2 new regional markets." Now the goal is clear. You know exactly what you're aiming for, how much improvement you want, how long you have, and what your approach will be. Setting goals also creates accountability. When everyone knows exactly what the target is, there's no room for vague excuses. It becomes clear who is responsible for which outcomes, and progress can be reviewed objectively. Accountability doesn't have to be a threat. It can be a motivator. It gives people something to aim for and the satisfaction of seeing their efforts produce measurable results. But there's a deeper reason goals matter. They create momentum. When you hit a milestone, no matter how small, it fuels the belief that bigger wins are possible. Success breeds confidence, and confidence accelerates action. This is why breaking a large goal into smaller milestones is so effective. It gives you more opportunities to celebrate progress and sustain motivation over the long haul. It's also important to connect goals back to the purpose you defined in step 1. Goals should never exist in isolation. They should be a direct expression of your bigger why. When a goal aligns with purpose, it becomes more than just a number to hit. It becomes a meaningful step toward the future you're trying to create. That sense of meaning will keep your team engaged even when the work gets difficult. However, setting goals is not a one-time event. Circumstances change, markets shift, opportunities arise unexpectedly. Sometimes, a goal that made sense 6 months ago becomes irrelevant or even counterproductive. That's why goals must be reviewed regularly and adjusted when necessary. Flexibility is not weakness, it's strategic intelligence. The point is not to cling to a goal no matter what, but to ensure that your goals always reflect the most important priorities in the current reality. One of the traps leaders fall into is setting too many goals at once. When everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. Overloading yourself or your team with an endless list of objectives leads to scattered focus and diluted effort. The most effective strategies often come from a few clear, high-impact goals pursued with relentless consistency. It's better to fully achieve 3 goals that transform your organization than to make mediocre progress on 10. There's also the human element to consider. Numbers and deadlines are essential, but people don't work for numbers. They work for meaning. when you share a goal with your team, don't just tell them what it is, tell them why it matters. Show them how achieving it will make a difference for the customers, the company, and for them personally. People are far more likely to commit to a goal when they understand the story behind it. Finally, remember that goals are not just for measurement. They are for direction. They keep you from drifting. They turn the chaos of countless possibilities into a focused path. They make it possible to say no to distractions because you can measure every opportunity against the question, will this help us reach our goal? If the answer is no, it doesn't belong in your plan. When goals are measurable and achievable, they don't just track progress, they inspire progress. They give everyone something to aim for, something to rally around, something to fight for together. And when they are grounded in truth, connected to purpose, and pursued with discipline, they transform strategy from theory into reality. A strategy without action is just imagination. You can have the clearest purpose, the most accurate understanding of your reality, and the most inspiring set of goals, but if you never translate those into action, nothing changes. This is where so many plans die, not because they were wrong, but because they were never truly set in motion. Ideas are fragile things. They disappear if you don't give them structure, movement, and a clear path forward. That's why developing actionable steps is the bridge between planning and progress. An actionable step is not a vague statement like improve marketing or increase customer satisfaction. Those are intentions, not actions. An actionable step answers 3 questions. What exactly needs to be done? Who is responsible for doing it? And when will it be completed? When those questions are clear, a step becomes more than a thought. It becomes a commitment. Breaking big goals into smaller, specific actions makes them less intimidating. If your goal is to launch a new product within a year, that's a massive undertaking. But when you break it down, conduct market research, design prototypes, test functionality, refine based on feedback, finalize production, create a marketing campaign, you transform a mountain into a series of steps. And with each completed step, you build momentum toward the larger goal. This process requires clarity above all else. If a step is vague, it will stall. People can't act on something they don't fully understand. Clarity doesn't just help with execution. It eliminates confusion, reduces wasted time, and creates accountability. When everyone knows exactly what needs to be done, there's no room for misunderstanding. Another key to developing actionable steps is sequencing. The order in which you act matters. You don't build the roof of a house before laying the foundation. In strategic planning, doing the right thing at the wrong time can be just as damaging as doing the wrong thing altogether. Sequencing ensures that each action builds on the last, creating a logical flow that moves you steadily toward your goal. Every step should also have a clear owner. Too often, tasks are assigned to the team instead of a specific individual. When that happens, ownership is diluted and accountability disappears. Assigning a single owner doesn't mean they have to do everything themselves. It means they are responsible for ensuring the step is completed, coordinating with others as needed, and removing obstacles along the way. Timelines are equally critical. Without deadlines, steps tend to drift. A task with no urgency will always get pushed aside for something more immediate. Deadlines don't just create pressure, they create priority. They tell people, this matters now. And when people treat a task as urgent and important, it gets done. The best actionable steps are also measurable. You should be able to look at a step when it's done and clearly say, yes, this has been completed, or no, this is still in progress. That way, there's no ambiguity about whether progress is being made. However, this is not just about logistics. It's about motivation. People are far more likely to act when they can see a clear path forward. Huge, abstract goals can feel overwhelming. But when you present people with a list of doable actions, each with a clear purpose, they feel empowered. They can see how their efforts directly contribute to the larger mission. And that sense of contribution is one of the most powerful motivators in human behavior. There's also a psychological advantage to actionable steps. They create a chain of wins. Every time you check off a completed step, your brain releases a small burst of satisfaction. This creates momentum. The more wins you stack, the more motivated you feel to keep going. It's the same principle that makes people addicted to completing levels in a game. You can see and feel your progress, and that drives you to reach the next milestone. But developing actionable steps is not just about forward motion. It's also about flexibility. No matter how well you plan, unexpected challenges will appear, markets will shift, priorities will change. A step that made sense last month may no longer be relevant today. That's why your action plan must be adaptable. You should be able to adjust steps without losing sight of the ultimate goal. Adaptability is not a sign that your strategy was weak. It's a sign that you're aware enough to respond to reality instead of blindly following a script. The discipline here lies in balance, being committed enough to follow through, but flexible enough to pivot when circumstances demand it. Too rigid, and you'll break when conditions change. Too loose, and you'll lose direction entirely. The sweet spot is a structured plan that can bend without snapping. When you develop actionable steps well, something amazing happens. People stop talking about the plan and start living it. Meetings shift from discussing possibilities to reporting on progress. Teams move from theoretical debates to tangible results. The energy changes because everyone can see the work taking shape in real time. The truth is, vision without execution is hallucination. But vision with clear, actionable steps becomes unstoppable. It's the difference between saying, we should do something about this, and actually doing it. And in the end, success is not measured by how beautifully you can describe a goal. It's measured by how effectively you can bring that goal to life through consistent. Intentional action planning is safe. It's comfortable. In a meeting room, nothing can go wrong. Deadlines don't slip, competitors don't attack, and unexpected crises don't knock on the door. But strategy doesn't live in a meeting room. It lives in the real world, and the real world is unpredictable. That's why implementation is where strategies are truly tested. And in this stage, two forces matter more than anything else: discipline and adaptability. Discipline is what turns intention into reality. It's the consistent, sometimes unglamorous effort to do the right thing, even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up on the days when motivation is low. It's following through on commitments, holding people accountable, and sticking to the plan long enough to see results. Discipline keeps you moving when the excitement of the initial idea fades. Without discipline, even the best strategy will fall apart. You can have clear goals and actionable steps, but if deadlines are ignored, responsibilities are brushed aside, and follow-through is optional, progress will stall. Discipline is about creating habits execution, communication, and problem solving. It's about building a culture where doing what we said we would do is non-negotiable. But discipline alone is not enough, because no matter how perfectly you plan, reality will change. New opportunities will appear that you didn't anticipate. Challenges will arise that threaten to derail your progress. And if you're too rigid, if you cling to the plan exactly as it was written, you risk being left behind. That's where adaptability comes in. Adaptability is not abandoning the plan at the first sign of trouble. It's the ability to respond intelligently to new information without losing sight of your purpose. It's adjusting your approach when circumstances shift while keeping the ultimate goal in focus. Some leaders see adaptability as weakness, as if changing course means admitting failure. In reality, adaptability is a strength. It's proof that you're paying attention to the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. The balance between discipline and adaptability is one of the hardest skills to master in strategic management. Too much discipline without adaptability makes you inflexible. You'll keep marching straight ahead even if the bridge in front of you has collapsed. Too much adaptability without discipline makes you inconsistent. You'll keep changing direction so often that you never reach your destination. The sweet spot is committing to disciplined execution while staying open to course corrections when necessary. Discipline in implementation also means tracking progress relentlessly. It's not enough to just work hard. You have to measure whether that work is actually producing the results you want. This is why regular check-ins, progress reviews, and performance metrics are so important. They're not about micromanaging. They're about making sure the plan is still moving in the right direction. When you track progress, you create opportunities to celebrate small wins, which boosts morale. You also create early warning signs for potential problems, allowing you to address them before they become disasters. Without tracking, you're flying blind, hoping that effort will eventually lead to success. With tracking, you're navigating with a map, adjusting as needed to stay on course. Adaptability also requires humility. It means admitting when something isn't working, even if you were the one who came up with the idea. It means listening to feedback from the people on the ground, the ones closest to the action, and valuing their perspective. It means being willing to pivot, not because it's easy, but because it's the right thing to do. One of the most overlooked parts of implementation is communication. A plan can fail simply because the people executing it aren't on the same page. Discipline in communication means regular updates, clear instructions, and transparency about what's working and what's not. Adaptability in communication means listening as much as you speak and being willing to incorporate new insights into the plan. It's also important to recognize that implementation is not a straight line. There will be setbacks. There will be delays. There will be moments where progress feels painfully slow. Discipline is what keeps you from quitting in those moments. Adaptability is what allows you to find another route when the one you're on is blocked. Together, they make you unstoppable. The organizations and leaders who excel at this stage treat the plan as a living thing, not a static document. They execute with precision, but they also observe, learn, and adjust in real time. They understand that the goal is not to follow the plan perfectly. It's to achieve the result the plan was designed for. And sometimes, achieving that result means rewriting parts of the plan along the way. When discipline and adaptability work together, implementation becomes more than just a phase in the process. It becomes a culture. People stop waiting for perfect conditions to act. They start moving, adjusting, and improving continuously. They learn that success is not about avoiding change. It's about mastering it while staying true to the mission. A strategy is never truly finished. Even after it's been planned, broken into actionable steps, and implemented with discipline, it remains a living, breathing system that requires constant attention. The moment you stop monitoring it, you open the door for stagnation, decline, and eventual failure. That's why the final step in strategic planning and management is not an afterthought. It's the engine that keeps the entire process alive. Monitor, evaluate, and evolve. Monitoring is about visibility. You can't manage what you can't see. This means regularly tracking performance indicators, reviewing progress against goals, and staying alert to changes in both your internal operations and the external environment. Monitoring doesn't just reveal where you are, it tells you whether your efforts are moving you toward where you want to be. Without it, you're navigating without a compass, hoping that hard work will somehow lead to success. But monitoring alone is not enough. You also have to evaluate what the data actually means. Numbers and reports are only as valuable as the insights you draw from them. Evaluation asks deeper questions. Are we on track? If not, why? Which parts of our strategy are working well and why? Which parts are underperforming and what's causing it? Are our assumptions still valid, or has the landscape shifted in ways that require a new approach? The evaluation process demands honesty. It's easy to look at positive results and take the credit, but it's much harder to confront areas of weakness and admit mistakes. Yet this is where the most valuable lessons are found. When you approach evaluation with humility, you turn setbacks into stepping stones. Every failed experiment becomes data you can use to improve. Every misstep becomes a source of insight that helps you avoid the same mistake in the future. The third part of this step, evolve, is where real strategic leadership shines. Evolution is the act of adjusting, refining, and sometimes completely reimagining your strategy based on what monitoring and evaluation reveal. This is not about chasing every new trend or changing direction on a whim. It's about making intentional, informed adjustments that keep your plan relevant and effective as circumstances change. In a world where markets, technology, and customer expectations evolve at unprecedented speeds, the ability to adapt is not optional. It's survival. Companies that once dominated their industries have vanished because they refused to evolve. They clung to a strategy that worked in the past, but ignored the signs that the world had moved on. On the other hand, those who thrive long-term see strategy as a continuous loop, not a straight line. They monitor constantly, evaluate honestly, and evolve deliberately. This step also requires the discipline to revisit your original purpose. Every adjustment you make should still align with the why that started it all. Evolution is not about abandoning your vision. It's about finding the best way to bring it to life in the current reality. Sometimes that means making small tweaks. Other times it means making bold, sweeping changes. Either way, the purpose remains the anchor that keeps evolution from turning into aimless wandering. Monitoring and evaluation should not be done in isolation. The best insights often come from involving multiple perspectives. Frontline employees can reveal operational challenges that leadership may not see. Customers can highlight gaps in your product or service that you didn't realize existed. Partners and suppliers can provide market intelligence that influences your competitive strategy. By gathering feedback from different sources, you create a fuller, more accurate picture of what's really happening. This process should also be consistent. Too many organizations treat evaluation as an annual event, which means they're reacting to problems long after they've taken root. In reality, evaluation should be ongoing. Monthly or quarterly reviews create opportunities to course, correct before issues spiral out of control. The faster you identify a problem, the easier it is to fix. Evolution also demands courage. It's one thing to recognize that a change is needed. It's another to act on it, especially when the change is difficult or unpopular. People naturally resist change because it disrupts routines and challenges comfort zones. But as a leader, you have to see beyond the discomfort of the moment and make decisions that serve the long-term health of the mission. There's a hidden benefit to this step. It builds resilience into your culture. When monitoring evaluation and evolution becomes second nature, people stop fearing change. They start expecting it. They learn that change is not a threat. It's a tool for staying relevant and competitive. They become more agile, more responsive, and more confident in their ability to navigate uncertainty. This final step closes the loop in strategic planning and management, but it also starts the next cycle. Every evaluation leads to new insights, which shape the next set of goals, which lead to new action steps, which are implemented